Another thing you talk about in the book is the development of the character, and that it's not always about the character getting what he wants or what he started wanting, but it's about what happens to the character in the midst of the story. So talk about that a little bit.
There was this movie called Friday Night Lights that they turned into a television series, and it's a very popular television series. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see it, but I saw the movie because I grew up in Texas, and it's about this high school football team in the 80s or early 90s that won the Texas High School State Football Championship. I remember them winning that championship. So I go see the movie. Last scene, fourth quarter, inches to the goal. I think there were a few seconds left on the clock. All they had to do was punch the ball in to win the game. They hike the ball, they run left, the defense backs them up, tackles them, time runs out. They lose the football game. And I'm thinking, I remember them winning this game. This is insane. Like, why would the screenwriters fictionalize this to make them lose? I researched it, and the year before they won the state championship, they had lost. And the screenwriters made a movie about the year they had lost.
Because it was a better story.
It was a better story, and they said that it was a better story because they tried harder.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't matter if you win, it matters if you give your life to it. But a good protagonist will just keep going. Yeah. Keep moving forward.
In the book, you talked about your dad, and I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
No, I'm fine, yeah.
In the interview, but that was to me a really moving part.
Well, I'd written a book about growing up without a dad, and when I was done with the book, decided I needed to find him. Because we had never talked about my father when I was a kid. So, but you know, I'm 30 now at this time, and I got to find out. So I have a friend in the district attorney's office. I ask him, I give him all the information I have. He finds a guy that lived 20 miles from the house that I grew up in my entire life, who died about 8 years before. And it was my dad. You know, so I grieved the loss of my father for a while, for about a month. My mom got word that I was trying to find him. I think I had actually mentioned to her. And she found him. And she called and said, I talked to your dad. I hadn't told her that he was dead.
Yeah. This has got to be very confusing at this moment.
It was confusing, and yet I knew instantly that my friend in the district attorney's office had found the wrong guy. I mean, it clicked pretty quickly.
Yeah.
After grieving the loss of my father, this whole other story came up. And I think that it was such a great thing to grieve and realize that I loved this man that I never knew.
Well, the thing that I liked in the book is that you thought you'd kind of been, I mean, as much as you were grieving it, you'd kind of been let off the hook because now you didn't have to face it.
I didn't have to deal with the emotional tension of having to.
But the thing comes back alive.
It comes back alive. And so I went and saw him. It was an amazing experience. At the end of about several hours of conversation, he looked at me and said, will you please forgive me for what I did to you? And I was able to forgive him there. And forgiveness, my pastor, Rick, defines forgiveness as taking the burden that somebody has given you and carrying it without ever holding them responsible. So the burden doesn't go away, but you emotionally, you are no longer holding this person responsible for what you were carrying. And somehow I knew, pulling up to the house, that this was about him. And he asked for it. I mean, he was bold, and he said, I need you to forgive me. And very, 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 very powerful moment. Glad I went through with it.
You have something outrageous planned to promote this book. And I'm not sure I've ever heard of anything quite this big. So can you tell us a little bit about that? 62 cities
between mid-September and Thanksgiving. I mean, we're hitting everywhere.
Wow.
And I'm going to be doing about an hour presentation that I am so looking forward to. It's part kind of comedy improv, part inspirational lecture, part, and I've been working on it for a long time, and we'll continue to perfect it. And then Susan Isaacs, another hilarious author. She's been on Seinfeld, and had a little role on Chuck for a while, and she's written this book called Angry Conversations with God. She's going to come out and do the opening 20 or 30 minutes. I don't think I've ever been this excited about promoting a book. I think I've grown up a little bit, matured as a writer.
Well, I love the fact that you're blogging and Twittering and you're making yourself accessible.
I love it. I have so much fun doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the beautiful things about doing things like that is you get to hear everybody else's story.
Yeah.
You know, it's a way to interact with people who've had experiences with your book, and it's their experience. It's not your experience.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. What an honor to be on your web program. All right. Well, thank you so much.